Now look, I'm gonna be honest and say this car here was not the most exciting car I was meant to have this week. It was meant to be a $200,000 Range Rover. However, through a series of unfortunate events, that Range Rover had to go back early. So we'll have to review that a little bit later. So I got to spend a bit more time with this Kia Seltos. And as much as I wanted it to be a lot worse than the Range Rover, as a daily driver, this thing really impressed me. So let me walk you around the outside, the inside, and of course, take it for a drive to let you know if you should buy one of these. So Kia makes a wide range of SUVs, everything from the Stonic all the way up to the Sorento. This sits above the Stonic, but it sits below the Sportage. And to me, I feel like it's the reincarnation of the Kia Soul for here in Australia, except in a more SUV body. I'm a big fan of the styling up front. I love the light bar, I love the textures, and I love the Tiger Nose grille integration up the front, and you can also see that up on the windshield. The whole front of this car is quite smart looking, and it's not all that busy. There's plenty of lights, some fog lamps down below, some LED lights up top, and I love the indicators and how they look when they are on up front. Alongside, you can just see how boxy this thing is. I love the two-tone going on with the black roof and this yellowish greenish paint, and I do love the little silver accents on the door handles and up on the window trim. It's satin, not chrome, looks a lot more modern. Love the 18-inch wheels with the little red center caps. They look great. The whole thing just looks nice and smart and just a little bit rugged with some extra cladding around the wheels and down the bottom, and with a little bit of ground clearance there as well. Now, this is the top of the line GT line Seltos, which is 44,290 drive away, and this one doesn't have any optional extras on it, so it's as you see it for that price. And for me, I think that is decent value for this car, especially as a larger sort of small SUV below $50,000. It's proving to be a good option. Now, part of the reason why you're looking at getting the Seltos over the smaller Stonic is because it has more boot space. This has 433 litres with all the seats up and 1,393 litres with all the seats down. So it's a bit more usable, and you don't feel like you have to be so cramped using this compared to a smaller size SUV. Now, there is a full-size alloy spare underneath the boot floor with everything you need to change it, which is very handy so you don't look ridiculous with that small space saver driving around. And look, what I was really surprised about is that the Seltos interior actually matches the exterior quite well. It's reminiscent of what we saw in the Cerato, except it's got a little bit more flair in it. Let's just start with the basics though. We've got a 10.25-inch infotainment screen in the middle, and I love this. It's super responsive. Like I say in every Kia and Hyundai review I do, it's one of the best infotainment systems out there just because how responsive it is, and it's just so easy to navigate in an app-like layout, sort of like an Android tablet. Now below that, there's actually physical buttons as well to jump to the menus, which is great, so much better than the capacitive ones that are being seen in the likes of the Hyundai Tucson. And again, physical volume and tuner knobs. Fantastic, love that. Very simple to use, climate controls down the bottom, yes, with more physical buttons, love to see it. And we have a wireless charger, we have some USB ports down the bottom and a 12-volt socket, and we just have a nice little rubber storage area as well. Shifter looks great because the boot's sort of stitched in a nice sort of leatherette material. There's heated and cooled seats, there's a diff locker up here, there's even hill descent controls, so this is starting to look like a miniaturized SUV, not just something for the inner city still. There's some stitching up on the dash, which I'm pretty sure is artificial, but nonetheless it's a soft material which looks great. Heads-up display, analog driver dials, however, they're flanked by a screen in the middle, which looks really, really nice because it sort of hugs both dials and it complements both screens rather than just existing by itself. A small touch which just goes a long way when you're using analog dials with a screen. It just looks well integrated. Plenty of places to store items as well, like a sort of generously sized center console, and of course this glove box here, and some nice sized storage bins which can fit a giant water bottle like this, and some cup holders in the middle which work really well to keep this still. But what I just want to change in this interior would be the gloss black on the steering wheel. It just shows a lot of dust and fingerprints, just especially in an area that you're touching a lot. So I just wish I could just remove that. But there is a cool thing here as well. There's a little grab handle which is very solid, which goes to say everything in this cabin is just so well built. That's something that Kia seems like they've got a absolute skill at right now. And then additionally, there are Bose speakers in here, and they've got this like 3D geometric design. They look fantastic, but a little party trick in here, and I'd say one of the biggest quirks is that you can go to this feature in the infotainment called Sound Mood Lamp, and you jump into that, and basically you can jump through a bunch of different color settings which have the weirdest names like road trip, party, cafe, and it's an RGB light show in here. So yes, you PC gamers know exactly what I'm talking about. If you love RGB on your computer, on your keyboard, on your mouse, on your headphones, you can also have it in your car if you get yourself a Kia Seltos GT line. And so this is a fun feature, and I think the best quirk in this car, and possibly the best quirk of 2021. So comfort-wise, I was very impressed with the Seltos, and it's one of those cars that I think you would buy if you were carrying a lot of people in the back frequently, because it's just that square shape, nice bigger doors than the other sort of smaller Kias you can buy, and it just feels a lot more spacious. Even with the seat folded back for me and my road trip driving position, I've got plenty of knee room, I have plenty of feet room thanks to these front seats being raised a little higher up. My headroom's pretty decent. I think anyone under around 6'3" should have no problem hitting the head on this roof at all. So I'm 5'11" and I'm feeling very comfortable back here. I have a center armrest to make myself even more comfortable, and look, it's a decent interior. Even the middle seat isn't that bad. There is a drivetrain and exhaust tunnel in the middle, and you know, my feet are pretty jammed up, so I will be playing footsies with the outside passengers. But that's not to say that you can't be comfortable in here. Despite lacking a sunroof, even for this price, you have plenty of light coming in from these big windows, which I love, and it just feels like an airy, large cabin, and it's just a nice place to be sitting back here. Although I was shocked at the price, and being at the top of the range model, we're just missing out on some of the basic stuff that Kia and Hyundai are known for throwing in. Like, there's no rear heated seats, there's only one USB back here, and there's only one map pocket on the passenger side seat. I don't get one if I sit behind the driver. So this motor produces enough power to get this thing going, and it certainly has enough push to it. What really shines is the all-wheel drive system. I was driving this in torrential rain, and it never faltered once. And I really tried. I obviously didn't turn off the stability controls because then we'd see something. But then with everything on, it just never decided to go, hey, I'm gonna start slipping now, or anything like that, which I found very impressive for an all-wheel drive system in a Kia Seltos. Now, there is a turbocharger under that bonnet, and it does feel pretty responsive. Sort of has a bit of a delay to it, but it's good enough for when you're going on the move. I actually found it to be quite pleasant to use in speeds up to 120 kilometers an hour. It was great, and I never thought it was running out of power. Now, the all-wheel drive system in here, like I said, is capable, and it's great through corners, so fanging it through a corner like this, you know, slow down, and then we put the power on. It's all a bit, not dull, I would say, but it's just a bit like soft. You're never gonna have any sort of sports car experiences in the Kia Seltos, but that's not a bad thing because it just means that it is just so comfortable. And that is one of the best things about this car, is that it is capable and it is comfortable. And capable in the sense that this all-wheel drive system does allow you to grip a bit more, put power down and get going. And then of course, you know, brakes work fine, all that sort of stuff. The gearbox is relatively smooth. It is a DCT, so it does make itself known as a DCT occasionally when it's sort of grabbing onto gears, a little bit jerky at times, and it just feels a little bit odd if you're used to a normal torque converter automatic. If you don't know what that is, most cars just have that. And the dual clutch just feels good to punch through gears, and it feels great when it does that, and it's quite rapid to go up and down, but you just can't help but notice that, you know, it can be a little bit rough around the edges because this isn't a Ferrari 458 Italia, this is a Kia Seltos. So that sort of application for this gearbox really is, you know, an interesting choice, I would say. Additionally, there are no paddle shifters, so you can't really take the full advantage of the ability for this thing to shift really quickly. And you know, that's not the worst thing. I actually don't mind that there's no paddle shifters in here. It's actually fine if you need to shift down here. There's a sport mode as well, which allows you to sort of get going just a little bit faster, but it's one of the, like the thing with drive modes and, you know, shifting manually in cars that just aren't sports cars, or, you know, a Kia Sorento GT, for example, it just doesn't make a whole bunch of sense, and I'd rather just relax and enjoy the ride here. That suspension at the back really works well for when you need to rapidly change directions. So when you're going along, for example, and if an obstacle pops out in front of you, it allows you to make quick moves and it doesn't upset the car all that much. So I would definitely appreciate the fact that this has upgraded rear suspension for a car that's, you know, part of the GT line. So you actually get you actually get mechanical upgrades to this car, and it's not just a badge with some extra trim. It actually has mechanical upgrades that make it drive better. Now, my fuel economy figures have actually been quite good. Around town, yeah, it gets a little bit thirsty, around 7.5 litres per 100 Ks, closing in on 10 if you're having a particularly thirsty week. But I averaged over around 705 kilometers of driving. I reached about 7.4 litres per 100 kilometers. Now, should you buy a Kia Seltos all-wheel drive GT line? Well, I'm not gonna lie and say I had to drive this during one of the toughest weeks of my life. Things just weren't going my way, and some things fell into order where I just wasn't having a good week. And that's when I really needed something like the Kia Seltos. It has features that keep me comfortable. It's got a very capable self-driving system in the form of lane centering and radar cruise control. It's comfortable, it's got great all-wheel drive, it's got enough punch in it, and of course, there's little features there that just make you smile and go, how can you have really that bad of a day when your car has RGB lights that sync up to your music, and it's a bit like going to a karaoke bar in there. It's just a capable little SUV for the daily grind, and also a great little road trip vehicle. It is a no-fuss small SUV, and it doesn't have any of the missing components that something like a front-wheel drive only SUV has. It feels like a shrunken down, rugged little daily driver, and I really love it for that reason. I didn't think I was gonna love it this much, but I really can't say anything too bad about it. It has been a brilliant little machine, and I definitely think you should go out and buy one. Now, massive thank you for watching, and also please consider subscribing to support the channel. It's the best way to show it, and it means a lot. Thank you to all of you that are currently subscribed, and if you want to be a part of that, just make sure you hit that red button down below. Also, leave a comment if you have anything to say, because I'll be down there replying to you. And then also, if you want to see what cars are coming up during the week, or any sort of quirks and features that I sort of condensed down into Instagram Reels, you can go give us a follow on Instagram as well. Links are down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching. My name's Cameron. This is Product Review Cars, and I'll see you in the next one.